In February 2022, Russia invaded Ukraine. Within days, not weeks, days, online searches combining the words Ukrainian and porn increased by 600%. These were not searches about the war, they were not searches about how to help. They were men in multiple countries, in multiple languages, treating a live military invasion like a browsing opportunity. The women generating those searches were in refugee processing centers. They were at the border crossings with children. They were asking for help. Dr. Valiant Richey, the OSCE Special Representative on Trafficking in Human Beings, presented this data at a human rights conference in Ireland. He described it as men seeking to, quoting directly, live out their war-inspired fantasies. I want you to hold this number for the rest of the video, 600%, because everything I'm about to tell you exists in the same world as this number. So I got a collaboration pitch. Not unusual. Usually it is a VPN service or a supplement that apparently can fix my whole personality, or an app that teaches you Spanish in 7 minutes a day. This was different. This was an app to find a Russian wife. They emailed me in Russian and English. They DM'd me on Instagram. They commented on my videos. It was a little overwhelming. They said my audience is widely foreign men, and also I connect with women like me. Women like me. They wanted me, a Russian woman, to advertise an app that catalogs Russian women for Western men to browse, like a menu, except the menu items have feelings and wrong passports. I sent them my rates, as I usually do for every proposal. Most scammy businesses leave me alone after seeing the price tag, which I keep high to avoid the onslaught of scammy businesses. You know, precautions. I wanted to see what they wanted me to do. Maybe they would send me a brief. Maybe I would see what their selling points are. Maybe I could understand where they are coming from. They replied, apparently the price of my dignity was over their budget. But I started looking, and I found out that this company behind this app does not do just Russian wives. They have a separate app for Ukrainian women, separate app for Asian women, and another one, general app. They have 3 apps marketing what marketing calls traditional women from cultures that still value family. This is not a compliment. This is a sales pitch. And while I was looking, I knew that they messaged creators from the same niche, and some of those creators said yes. The 600% number is still there, isn't it? That's why I made this video. Today we're talking about how Eastern European women are portrayed in media, and why those portrayals are an industry and not just accidents. If you are not Eastern European, here is your fast tour on what apparently we are supposed to be, according to media, television, films, advertisements, and certain app developers. Option 1. The mail order bride. Submissive, traditional, untouched by Western feminism. Will cook, will forgive your affairs, will not complain about your personality or lack thereof. Option 2. The mob wife. Loyal to a man who does crimes. Fashionable, complicit, somehow still sympathetic. Option 3. The trafficking victim. Eastern European Natasha. Naive, beautiful, destroyed by circumstances. She represents a tragedy that is very relevant to the plot. Option 4. The gold digger. She does not love you. She loves your passport. She is calculating, cold, and still very beautiful. Notice anything. Every single one is defined by her relationship to men, suffering, or money. None of them is just a person. Italian TV once ran a panel where pundits listed the qualities that make Eastern European women the perfect wife. The list included: they forgive infidelity, they maintain their figure, they obey, they cook, and they prefer family over career. This was presented as a compliment. A Russian writer responded publicly: I am tired of the fetishizing of Eastern European girls. We are more than obedient wives who will let you cheat. She was called ungrateful. To understand how this became an industry, you have to understand the late Soviet times, in particular 1991. The Soviet Union collapsed, and not in a graceful way, in the way where the infrastructure millions of people organized their lives around, healthcare, housing, employment, childcare, vanished. In a year, mass unemployment, hyperinflation, poverty in Russia reached over 30% within 2 years after the collapse. For women specifically, it was a disaster, because in post-Soviet economy, women bore the consequences disproportionately. Childcare, elder care, domestic labor, all previously subsidized by state, was now just theirs. Invisible, unpaid, expected. And into this vacuum came an idea: marry a Westerner, problem solved. Western men, according to the perception circulating at the time, including in Russian media, were sophisticated, sober, thoughtful, and faithful, not like local men. Local men were drunk and unemployed. Was this accurate? No. Was this a fantasy sold to people who were desperate? Yes. By the early 2000s, 92,000 Russian women and Ukrainian women were posting profiles on international dating websites every year. A US immigration study from 2001 found 62,605 Russian women had been recruited by American marriage brokers. By 2005, between 11 and 16,500 fiancé visas per year, up to a half of all of such visas issued, went to women who met their spouses through agencies. This is not a niche market, this is an industry. And like all industries, it needed a product. So it created one. The product was an image, an Eastern European woman, young, beautiful, traditional, eager, grateful. Not a person, an image. And once you have an image, you can sell it. Let me show you how this image was built. Soviet Union, 1 year before the collapse. A film called Intergirl is released. It becomes one of the most watched Soviet films of its era. The story is about Tanya, nurse by day, prostitute by night, specifically for Western clients paying in foreign currency. She marries one, moves to Sweden, has big apartment, nice clothes, and a Mercedes. She dies in a car crash. This film was meant to be a warning. Prostitution will destroy you. The West will not save you. You will always want to come home. Home is better. What audiences heard was different. They heard, if you do this, you can have a big apartment and a Mercedes. And honestly, the ending was very cinematic. The bad outcome still came with a Western lifestyle and several years of luxury before the crash. For someone in the 1989 Soviet Russia, the calculus looked different than the filmmakers intended. 2 years later, 1991, a Soviet pop duo called Kombinatsiya releases a song called American Boy. The lyrics, translated because I'm providing a service today, go. I am just a simple Russian girl. I have never been abroad. You are an American boy. Take me away. She wants to bathe in luxury in his Mercedes. She wants his country. She is, and I want to be precise here, described as simple. The song was catchy. It genuinely still is very catchy. I am actively fighting the instinct to sing it right now. But what the song did at the exact moment as Soviet Union collapsed and real women were looking for real options was make the fantasy feel like the pop song. Normal, fun, just something you sing along to. Media does this. It takes a structural economic crisis and turns it into a vibe. Like Swedish film Lilja Forever. A teenage girl from post-Soviet country is abandoned by her mother, tricked by a man, trafficked to Sweden, exploited. It ends very badly. The film Eastern Promises. Russian mafia in London. Women trafficked. Brutal scenes. These films wanted to expose trafficking, and partially they do, but also they do something else. They cement the image. Eastern European girl equals vulnerable. Eastern European girl equals available for destruction. When you see enough of these, the image calcifies, not as protest or an outrage, but as an expectation. And the apps I mentioned, they are selling the same image as a product. Let me give you numbers, because numbers are inconvenient and therefore important. According to the UN Office of Drugs and Crime, 79% of detected trafficking victims worldwide are trafficked for sexual exploitation, overwhelmingly women and girls. Less than 1% of trafficking victims are officially identified. In 40% of countries, the recorded number of trafficking convictions in any given year is zero. This isn't bad luck, this is infrastructure. Trafficking happens because there is demand, and demand is shaped by the image and by marketing. When you tell men through films, through apps, through pop songs that Eastern European women are available, traditional, submissive, and eager for rescue, you are not just creating a stereotype. You are creating a customer. Sonia Osorio of the National Organization for Women described the mail order bride industry as a softer version of human trafficking. The softness is in the marketing, not in the outcome for many of the women. So let's go back to the app. I want to be precise about what the product is. It's not a dating app, because dating apps work on the premise of mutual choice. You swipe, they swipe, neither of you is obligated. This is a catalog, listed by country, filtered by age, browsable by men who paid for access. Women pay nothing, because they're not the customer, they are the product. 3 separate apps: Russian women, Ukrainian women, Asian women, all for one thing. A Western man wants a specific type of woman from a specific region associated with specific qualities: submissive, traditional, grateful. And this app will provide her. They approached me because I'm Russian and I have a platform. My audience includes Eastern European women and women who relate to Eastern European culture. Advertising this app to my audience was supposed to be useful. It would also have been me, a Slavic woman, standing in front of Slavic women and saying, here is a service that turns you into a catalog, endorsed by me. Enjoy. What bothers me more than the ask is that somebody says yes. Some creators in this niche who also create Eastern European content, who also have Eastern European women in their audience, accepted the integration. I understand why. Money is real. Sponsorships are income. I'm not judging anybody's financial situation. But I want to be clear about the effect. When Eastern European creators advertise apps like that, we validate the premise. We become part of the catalog. We become the evidence that Eastern European women are comfortable with this, that this is normal, that this is fine. We are used to sell the image that is used to sell the women. This is what making us into commodities looks like in 2026. I know what some of you might be thinking. Anya, some women genuinely use these services and find good relationships. Yes, this is true. Some women may find love on those platforms. Some marriages that start this way are very real, respectful, and lasting. And I'm not arguing that every man on this app is a predator. And I'm not arguing that every woman on this app is a victim. I'm arguing about what the structure creates, the image it constructs, the demand it normalizes, and the harm that falls on the many when the industry is built around exploiting the vulnerable. You can build the road, and most people will use it to get to work. And some people will use it to run someone over. It is still a road. And I'm also not saying that Eastern European women need to be saved. This is another stereotype. The helpless Natasha who needs a Western hero. I find it just as irritating as the mail order bride one. We do not to be rescued. We need to not be marketed. Difference. Let me tell you what the stereotype actually costs. It costs credibility. When you are Eastern European and you date a Westerner, someone will assume you're married for a passport, even if you have your own money, even if you have your own life. The image precedes you. It costs safety. When men have been sold the idea that Eastern European women are available for purchase, some behave accordingly. It's in the data. It costs policy. When trafficking victims are expected to fit the Natasha image, young, naive, passportless, the woman who does not fit the profile is not identified as a victim. Under 1% of trafficking victims are ever identified, in part because the profile is so narrow that real victims fall outside it. It costs visibility. Every time a story about an Eastern European woman centers on her availability or victimhood, it erases the stories that do not fit, the ones who are doctors, engineers, artists, politicians, or comedians on the internet who do the cat reviews. When you reduce a group of people to a set of useful fictions, you make them easier to exploit and harder to see. So what do we do? 1. Stop clicking. If you see an ad of an app for Russian wife, any of them, do not engage. Don't even stop to laugh at it. Engagement is revenue. Revenue is survival for those platforms. 2. Notice when the media does this. The next time you watch a film with an Eastern European woman character, ask yourself which trope is she feeling. Not to cancel the film, just to see it. Once you see it, you cannot unsee it. 3. Support creators who push against it. Not just Eastern European creators, anybody who refuses to participate in the catalog. 4. If you are a man who uses these services, I'm not calling you a monster. I'm asking you to consider the industry it is built on and whether your participation in it looks to you the same now that you have the full picture from me. And if you are an app developer who approaches Eastern European creators to advertise your catalog of Eastern European women, my rates are not going down and neither are my principles. I packed my life in 2 suitcases, not as a metaphor, 2 actual suitcases. That's all I had. Everything else I left behind, gave away, or decided it didn't matter enough to carry it with me. When you do that, when you reduce your livelihood, your entire existence to whatever fits in 2 bags, you learn very quickly what is actually yours, what is you and what is just furniture. I came here as a person, with opinions, with specific sense of humor, with strong opinions about soup, and of course winter footwear. Not as a product, not as a category, not as an image somebody else finds useful. This app that pitched me does not know what was in my suitcases, does not know what I left behind, does not know what it cost me to leave. They just know what I look like from outside, and they decided it was enough to sell. I made this video because the company thought I was available, because some of my colleagues decided they were, because when you have been reduced to useful fiction, it follows you across borders, into refugee centers, into collaboration pitches in your inbox. The stereotype did not start with the app, and it will outlast it, unless enough people decide it should not. If you found this video interesting, useful, infuriating, or anything at all, you don't even have to press the like button. Instead, go donate to a fund that will help refugees, that will help women, that will help trafficking victims, do something that matters.